Do you like the Dreamcast? I love the Dreamcast, and that's why I'm on a mission to complete every single official game on the system. In English. There are almost 300 English language releases, and they're all chosen completely at random. Last week, I did F1 World Grand Prix, and this week's episode, game number 10, is Maximum Pool. If you like the idea of this video, leave a like. That really shows me you want me to keep going with this mission. Now, Maximum Pool is one of a few billiard games on the system, and I'm hoping the others are better than this, because as far as budgeted releases go, this is something special. Obviously, the main appeal of this release was potential online play, but still, it's a pretty bare bones experience. There's no world tour, no career mode, anything like that. The only options are the variations of the games themselves, which I'll give them credit for. There's a lot. There's basic pocket billiards, Kam Billiards, Cutthroat, 8-ball, 9-ball, rotation, and Snooker. And since there's no defined completion, I thought, you know what, I'll try and win once at each of these modes. And if I thought I was bad at pool in real life, oh, I'm even worse in video game form. This took a bit longer than I imagined. It didn't help that the game kept crashing, like at least 5 times in the middle of a match. I started from the top, basic pocket billiards. You can choose your opponent, and perhaps the most unique thing about this is the FMV trash talking that they do. I also love how they don't take this seriously. Like, these aren't some shady pool sharks you'd find in a bar. You play against people that you'd find working in your office. I started out against Linda because I don't want to be judgmental, but she seems like the person who would smoke me the least. Even more so than the canine. At least that's what I thought, because then I remember Pool AI is more infallible than Ronnie O'Sullivan. Bam, bam, bam. They also take a lot of thinking time to plan how they're gonna massacre you. Seems a bit harsh on my first go. She won me without me even getting a play aside from the break. What?
Game over.
That is how I like to play.
Anyways, the rule of basic pocket billiards is something I didn't realize at first. Before putting any ball, you have to shout it out. You can't plan on putting one ball, but then accidentally pot another. That's not allowed. You need to call it. You have to cycle through all the balls, which is quite annoying because it takes forever to get to the one that you want. I learned that mistake when the ball I potted wasn't the one that was highlighted. I was pretty cheesed off because I was on a run as well. And my new opponent AI, Amy, assumingly she would destroy me on her turn, which, spoiler alert, she did. These ladies are Terminators underneath the skin. She got 7 in a row before I got my go, which is lucky because it's the first to 8, like who's the winner, but I missed and gave up before deciding to read the rules, because to the game's credit, there is a healthy amount of walls of text dealing with the rules for each mode. On my third go, I thought I'd go with the dog. And if a dog beats me, then I should just give up, not only on this game, but on all video games and maybe life itself. Annoyingly, you always have to break, so the CPU always gets to have a run straight afterwards. Thankfully, Buddy only got 2 in a row before passing on to me. The controls for this are quite fiddly, especially in the camera movements. You always have to readjust the camera as it doesn't seem capable of positioning itself half the time. Thankfully, there's none of the nonsense about using the analog stick to thrust the cue. You just pull it back and forth before releasing. You don't need to hold it yourself, and I did like that. Buddy, well, it was close, but he did eventually win. And by eventually win, what I mean is, he broke this time, potted 2 from the off, and cleaned house without me even touching the table. This is a joke. Thankfully, the game crashed, so, it saved some of my dignity. It's time to get serious. I keep playing and they keep cleaning house every single time. It's absolutely rigged. I'd understand if this was the highest difficulty, but this is normal. I decided to switch to easy, just to see. Don't blame me. And what happened? Brad cleaned house. What the hell? Now I'm just annoyed, and since I replayed straight away, then he has to break, and when he did, the dude did not see what was coming. Yes, I actually cleaned house myself. Just don't tell my wife, otherwise she'll make me start hoovering things up. I've got enough stuff to deal with. Game 1, down.
Game over.
I'm gonna practice all night.
I hope you do practice all night, you nerd. Alright, that took 40 minutes. Let's speed this thing up. Next up is Kam Billiards, which I've never heard of before playing this, at least not with this name. It's a weird one. There are only 3 balls in play. A white ball is yours, your opponent is yellow, I guess it's just a piss-stained white, and there's a red ball that you have to target. The idea is that you have to hit the red ball, bounce it off the sides, and then let your ball hit your opponent. That gives you a point. Usually, it's first to 30, but I've played this before in real life, and that would take absolutely forever. I brought it down to 5, and playing against Jim, who is the middle-aged guy at work who's having marital troubles, naturally this is taking forever. You should be thankful I brought it down. They'd be kicking us out of the bar at this point. But the last point I needed, it really couldn't have been set up any better. It seems the Lord himself got bored and decided to end it sooner rather than later.
Game over.
I took a beating on that one.
Next is Cutthroat, which I've also played before in real life, back when I had a social life. It's a 3-player game, so I was obviously rolling in friends at that point. Don't want to show off. Each player has their own balls, and that doesn't mean women can't play because they can. One player has balls 1 to 5, the second 6 to 10, and the third 11 to 15. 5 balls each. You have to pot the competition's ball before all yours get taken out. Pretty fun game, quite tactical if you want to gang up on the better player, although scrolling through all the balls one by one to pick the ones that are suitable, that's just a pain. This was a good one to be honest, and it was a very tight competition. I won first time of asking, but with 1 ball to spare, although the game did crash twice while playing, so it's technically third time of trying. Next up, 8 ball, which I think is the most commonly played form of pool, solids and stripes. You get elected with whichever one you pot first, and then you have to finish it off with the 8 ball. I thought this would be tough due to the opponent's AI usually being infallible with their, planning, but some kind of miracle happened. Jim obviously got his wife's affair heavily on his mind. He pots the black by mistake, which is game over, man. Hell yeah, I barely needed to do anything on this one. Next up, 9 ball, which is an interesting mode. I like this one even though it is tricky. There are only 9 balls. Shocking, I know. Numbered 1 through 9. You need to pot them in order and you must always hit the lowest value ball first. You can't bounce off a 5 to hit the 1, but you can bounce off 1 to pot 5. I was doing well until I had to pass over to Jim, who went on a run. But on the last one he accidentally potted the cue ball, meaning I had a straight view of the final ball. Don't mess it up. Jim, I love you, boy. I'm sorry what you're going through at home, but I need to get through this quickly, so thanks. Next up is rotation. Rotation is similar in the fact that you need to always hit the lowest value ball first, but it's a points game this time, so you're going to want to hit the lowest ball, but then ping the higher values into the pockets. I think it's safe to say I was starting to get the hang of the controls by now, and I was finding it much easier to gauge the angles and power needed, and it totally wasn't because I was sticking a ruler up against my TV screen. Definitely didn't do that. I was playing against Buddy and I was playing decently, but the last 2 balls caused issue for both of us, but I did it and I won. Finally, the last competition is Snooker, which I'm sure isn't very popular in America, which is weird because you like more complicated sports. I'd have thought you'd prefer this over pool. 15 red balls, 6 colored balls with higher points. The idea is to sink a red ball first, then a colored ball. Red ball, color ball. The color balls come back until all the red balls are gone, at which point they will be eligible for Erasure 2. It's a classic, but it doesn't make sense when I'm talking about it. You just need to play it a few times. But I'm just happy I don't need to keep score. That always annoyed me, like same with darts. Who's got time for maths in a pub? You're 3 pints of Foster's down and you gotta do a treble 16 in your head, and then add it to the total score after that. This is the longest style of the lot of them. There's more balls than you know what to do with. My pal Buddy got an early run of this, getting 17 points early on, and I struggled to get a good sight on targets. I also started choking my shots a lot. Thankfully, the game crashed again, so I had an excuse to start over. And I was playing against Amy. I hadn't played her much because she annoyed the hell out of me one time, and I thought, this would be my best chance of revenge. But I wasn't helping myself at all. Thankfully, it froze again. This time, against the village idiot Brad. I had a good feeling about this. But yeah, it was an ugly game, gotta be honest. Neither of us covered ourselves in glory, and I decided to cut my losses. I didn't have the game crashing to save my blushes this time. The next time, I started fairly strong, but Brad came back big time and made me give up. This is gonna be a problem. I am my own worst enemy in this game, and the longer the mode is, the more obvious I am at being rubbish about it. The only hope is that my man Brad ain't so hot either. He's only winning because I'm failing. I need to up my game, and I failed over and over again. I spent almost an hour on this mode alone at this point, and when the red balls were all potted, down to the colors, I was just about ahead. But at this point, you must hit the lowest value ball. So a foul shot put me at a disadvantage, and I'm thinking I blew it again. There's 2 balls left. I nail the brown, but mess up the finishing shot. But so does Brad, and he gives me one last chance to sink the black with a delicate cushion shot to victory. All modes finished. I have completed the game in slightly over 2 hours.
I'm winning every game from now on. I hate losing.
Overall, if I was to rate this game, I would give it a 4 out of 10 in terms of fun. The mechanics, fairly solid, and it's got variety in terms of versions of billiards, but the controls are rather clunky and there needed to be like more single player content. Presentation, I'd give it a 3. It is bare bones, and the only thing stopping it from getting a 1 is the trash talking FMVs. In terms of difficulty, I would give it like a 7 out of 10, at least if you're playing on the standard settings. It is a bit easier on easy. Who'd have thought that? Alright, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, that helps. And also, leave a pool emoji in the comments so I know who the legends are. Speaking of legends, thank you to my Patreon supporters. That really does mean the world to me. If you join them, then you can watch next episode in the series early, like right now. Game number 11 is Project Justice Rival Schools 2. You can watch it right now. Special thanks to my super producers, Alexander Cato, Brent McLean, FF14 Best RPG, JCrod7776, Vey, Sven Nowlertz, Wixit, Josh Foot, and Aldo SFC. Thank you for your wonderful, wonderful support.